Hello and welcome to Default Assault, where we take on everything by default. I am your host, Demosthenes, and with me today is our wonderful co-host, Mr. Kyle Nash. How's it going, Kyle?
What's the good word? I'm back from being blown away by a hurricane. Or kind of.
Yeah, well, you were down there for Irma. You're in Florida. How did that go?
Better than it should have.
So today we are going to talk in honor of the upcoming Blade Runner 2049. We're going to be talking about actor Harrison Ford. Man, I could probably spend the entirety of the episode just going down his filmography. I mean, from American Graffiti to Indiana Jones to Star Wars to Jack Ryan. He's had a hell of a career, and we just could not resist taking this opportunity to talk about it, especially since, in a strange way, he seems to be bookending his career with various roles. I mean, he started at the beginning of his career, he started with Indy and Han Solo and Deckard from Blade Runner, and now he seems to be bookending his career with Han Solo, Deckard, and Indiana Jones.
Wow, when's that Indiana Jones one gonna happen?
2019, I believe.
Wow, it'll be great that they come out with a fourth movie in 2019. I'm looking forward to that. That's what was interesting about the box set is they came with this cool coaster with a skull on it. So, I don't know the significance of that, but it's great to see a fourth Indiana Jones movie coming.
I'm just proud that my jokes are good enough for you to steal. So thank you. Thank you very much.
We've been making this joke together since we did the sports symposium. Yeah, try putting that in your info tip.
Links below. So, to talk about an actor whose career is so varied and insane as far as especially his quality, I believe that he is still currently, if you were to take the adjusted box office gross of all his films, he is the most successful actor of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time. There is only one actor that's actually getting close that might beat him at one point. Can you guess who that is?
Ryan Reynolds.
No. No, emphatic no. Yes, Green Lantern did a hell of a lot for his box office.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Why did you have to take it there? And you know what? There is a Crystal Skull movie. Yeah. How's that feel, Prague?
No, it's Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson is catching up, mostly because of his similar involvement in Star Wars. And
Samuel Jackson's involvement. Look, I know this is a Harrison Ford thing, but as often as we said "Higgitus Figitus, motherfucker," have we not thought about him as Merlin in the Sword in the Stone yet? Wow. Wow.
Samuel L. Jackson would make the perfect Merlin. And yeah, by far. I thought, to be honest, Samuel Jackson has kind of a cheat in his box office records, and the fact that he appears in many of the Marvel films, many of them for 5 minutes, if that, and it adds up. Harrison Ford, for the most part, he rarely takes cameo or small roles. He has done a few, most recently Anchorman 2, but that's not something he's really known for. He's very much a lead or a high-ranked supporting actor.
He's a mushroom cloud laying mother.
I mean, that coaster gave me new appreciation for the safety of refrigerators. So, the more you know.
Stop it.
So before we start, I wanted to ask you, since we were the perfect age to grow up with Harrison Ford, what were your first impressions of Ford, and what did he mean to your childhood, more or less?
What did he mean to my childhood? Look, other people were busy wasting their time pretending they were Indy, or pretending they were Batman or Superman. I was pretending I was Indiana Jones. Okay, it's that simple.
No, I can't blame you. I mean, many people ask me often, which do you prefer, Indiana Jones or James Bond? Which for me is a tough question. On my website, I have a monthly series dedicated to James Bond, HilarityByDefault.com. Check it out. But at the same time, yeah, Indiana Jones. I think is the better series as far as overall quality from beginning. Those three movies were incredible. I mean, the first one is still the best, but my first Harrison Ford movie was Raiders of the Lost Ark. I got to know him as Indiana Jones. Star Wars came later. I didn't. It's not like years later, but I remember one of the reasons I wanted to see Star Wars was Indiana Jones is in it. Indiana Jones in space.
Nice.
I mean, how can you go wrong in space and not the space between spaces? You know.
I mean, it's better that than to find yourself saying, you know what I want? Han Solo as an archaeologist.
Well, you know, and that kind of works. Chewbacca, he found Bigfoot, so he's already making great strides.
Yes, but I think Chewbacca could find his way out of his own museum, which is more than I could say for Marcus Brody.
Although, I don't know how many languages Chewie speaks, so Marcus Brody may have one on him.
I mean, he could be speaking several languages, but it only is going to come out as.
So Harrison Ford has seen, you know, like we both grew up with him, and yes, we can sit here and talk about, like I said before, we could talk about Indiana Jones and Star Wars, but I'm actually more curious about what some of your favorite Harrison Ford films are other than Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and he has quite a few to pick from. But what are some of the ones that you particularly liked?
Well, I mean, it's funny. Most people only know Kelly McGinnis from having her breath taken away by Tom Cruise. However, she wasn't just associated with Maverick. She was also spending a little cozy time with Han Solo in Witness, if you catch my meaning. You don't? Okay. But
the sexiest Amish girl I've ever seen on film.
Ever.
Actually, sexiest sponge bath I've ever seen. It was.
I mean, okay.
She was using. I think she was using a sponge. Watching that scene, I wasn't really paying too much attention at her hands, but. Witness, fantastic film, 1985, directed by Peter Weir, who also directed one of your other favorite films, Kyle, Master and Commander.
Yes, great movie. And if I may also add, our first revelation of how bad a villain that Danny Glover is.
But Peter Weir, one real quick thing about Witness is that it was Harrison Ford's only Academy Award nominated performance. And he had such a good relationship with Peter Weir that he did a second film with him, a film that Harrison Ford considers to be his best performance, and that was Mosquito Coast. And yeah, you didn't have a good experience with Mosquito Coast.
I never had a complete experience because I always thought it was so freaking weird. But I mean, in the name of keeping things somewhat positive, another movie of his that's completely unappreciated is, and I can see why it is. First of all, it's basically a movie that was one of these TV throwbacks, for lack of a better word. You know, it's a TV series that was popular, and for a while there, you know, everything up to Car 54 literally was getting a damn movie remake. You know, if you don't know what Car 54 is, look it up on Wikipedia. Don't watch any of it for the love of Pete. But The Fugitive was merely supposed to be a cinematic retelling of the old series featuring Dr. Richard Kimball. And oh my gosh, what a good movie. What a good movie.
The Fugitive is fantastic. Also probably one of his best performances. It did. I mean, not only was it a blockbuster, it was nominated for Best Picture, and you normally don't see movies of that type get nominated for a prestigious award, such as the Academy Awards. It was excellent. I mean, that's how you do. That's how you bring a TV series like that to the big screen. It paid reverence, and it didn't just rely on the well-known franchise name. It actually tried to do something of higher quality, and it achieved that tremendously well.
Pop quiz, Demos. If it wasn't for the fact that Dr. Richard Kimball was overshadowed by the great Sam Gerard, who eventually had his own spin-off movie, U.S. Marshals, because that character was so popular, led to a Best Supporting Actor award from for Tommy Lee Jones. Do you think that Harrison Ford would have gotten more Oscar attention in that role as Dr. Richard Kimball?
Possibly, possibly. It is, there's one thing that a lot of people have complained about Harrison Ford is that a lot of people say that he's kind of one note. He kind of plays variations of the same character. He's either kind of the wise ass or the grumpy old man. And mind you, there was like a good 10-year period between 2000 and 2010 where he did kind of mostly play the grumpy character. So I can see where that comes from.
I don't always do this. I don't always.
He actually, when you watch all his films, he has quite a bit of range. The one scene in The Fugitive, the scene when he's about to jump off the dam, where you can see him, contemplating, life and death in that instant with, Tommy Lee Jones in the background saying, "I don't care."
Look, I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. Yeah, no, that's greatness. Greatness.
He did the two Jack Ryan films. He did Patriot Games and Clear Present Danger, which were the two sequels to The Hunt for Red October. So he essentially replaced Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan. I like Baldwin in the role, but I love Harrison Ford in the role as well. Patriot.
They're not the same guy in my view.
When you watch them back to back, they do share some idiosyncrasies between them. So he's definitely playing that character. He has the wild exclamations of "son of a bitch" when he figures stuff out. But yeah, they are approached differently. But Harrison Ford's interpretation is that of an older Jack Ryan rather than The Hunt for October, which was also the character's first. It was the first Tom Clancy Jack Ryan novel as well. But his performance in Patriot Games is actually also quite impressive. He stands toe to toe with Richard Harris. The one scene where he and Samuel L. Jackson confronts Richard Harris.
"I don't give a shit whether you did it or not, and neither will anyone else. But I will put such a stranglehold on your gun money, you'll be out in the street throwing rocks. I will fucking destroy you. I will make it my mission in life."
Excuse me.
He did quite a number of movies between 77 and the mid 90s. He was almost everything he did was fantastic, from Working Girl to Frantic, by Roman Polanski. You've seen Frantic.
Like Harrison Ford, I'm getting frantic. Yeah, no, actually, I saw that in the theater with my dad. And what struck me about that movie is like they're going along and he's with his wife and all that stuff, and the matter with which like he suddenly realized that she's not there was what struck me. It was just so very subtly delivered. Oh, hey, by the way, she's gone. So yeah.
It plays in a realistic fashion. I mean, they take things step by step in a way that you don't normally see in movies. What would have been swept up in 5 minutes of exposition, this movie spends half an hour dealing with, and in its own way, it does. It pulls you in because it really does set the stage very well that way. Although I think the biggest misstep with Frantic was its name. Even Harrison Ford joked that the title should have been called Moderately Disturbed.
That is funny.
It is kind of slow paced, but it's definitely worth a look. I'm a big fan of, and this is one of his films that people rarely talk about. Have you seen Presumed Innocence?
Oh, wonderful movie. The great Raul Julia plays his counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Dennehy is in it as the DA. Excellent movie. I forget the actress who plays his wife, but she's in so much stuff and does a good job very often. She'd be more actually better known as Mrs. John McClane from Die Hard. Presumed Innocent is definitely, I would even argue, it's my favorite Harrison Ford movie, not called Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, and of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark is gets its count too. But I would say I enjoy Presumed Innocent more than Star Wars. That's right, I said it.
No, I actually would agree. Although I think it's kind of unfair to compare them because you couldn't get two more radically different movies. But on a scale of like personal choice, like which one would I rather sit down and watch and enjoy? Presumed Innocent, it has one of the best twists in a film from the last couple of decades, and it's a simple twist. And I've always found the simple twists to be far more effective than some elaborate scheme like the guy didn't really know that he was killing everybody and he thought it was a ghost kind of stupid twist.
Yeah, no, the reason why that twist is so effective, even though it's so air quotes simple. I mean, do we need to throw the spoiler bitches in here? I don't know, but the spoiler that takes place it works so well because you're so focused on the trial that you kind of forget about what's introduced by that new twist. Moreover, that twist removes all doubt that could have existed in somebody who was watching it, and it assures that Harrison Ford is perhaps more than presumed innocent.
I would say if there was one, if I had to pick one other role that he did that he should have been nominated for, it would be Rusty in Presumed Innocent because he did.
Rosette K. Savage is a simple character, but that's part of what makes him so great. We're throwing down Rosette K. Savage. Nothing.
I gave you props.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, everybody, stop the show. I'm going to give Kyle props.
Because if you didn't, I would have to go all Nathan R. Jessup on you.
You want more?
You want answers? You can't handle the truth.
Wrong actor.
I know, but it's still a great line. Moving on.
Another thing, I mean, I do enjoy him in comedies as well. I think that Working Girl is one of the best comedies from the 1980s. Another film that has a tremendous cast, and we've mentioned it on the show before because I remember mentioning that listing it out between David Duchovny's debut, Melanie Griffith, Kevin freaking Spacey, Alec Baldwin, Sigourney Weaver in a award-winning performance. That's a great film, and he doesn't even show up until 30 minutes in.
Well, hey, I mean, isn't that true of Star Wars as well?
Star Wars, I think, is more like towards the 45-minute mark. He doesn't appear until like almost halfway through that film.
Excuse me. You mentioned him doing comedies. I might make what's presumed a somewhat controversial statement. I would argue that some of the funnier moments or scenes in his career is in a movie that is more or less maligned, though in my opinion, it shouldn't be. It's not a great movie, but it's a good movie. Of course, I'm referring to. I'm referring to
Hollywood Homicide.
Yes, correct. That movie isn't great. It won't change your life. He and Josh Hartnett just really didn't have chemistry, and it kind of, I'm not gonna say it fell apart from there, but it struggled there.
The chemistry was the linchpin for that film to succeed.
Correct. And while they needed an odd couple, they were a little too odd, and I say all that to say there are some moments in that movie that are just hilarious, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's a 2-second scene, so I can't consider it a spoiler, but there's a scene where Harrison Ford steals a bike from a little girl in the streets, and it is that scene alone is almost worth watching the whole film for all its faults. I can't get. I think about that movie. I think about that scene, and I crack up laughing, which is more than I could say for most comedies, regardless of quality.
And I'm trying to tell you, Indiana Jones is stealing a bike from a little girl. What the shit, And
the punchline of that scene, the what really makes it work is not even the action. He doesn't even say anything. He just screams in his typical Harrison Ford fashion in this little girl's face. you ever want to see a movie that really features an odd couple, watch The Frisco Kid. Have you seen The Frisco Kid, Kyle?
Oh yes, excellent movie. That's actually a lot of fun. I had my girlfriend in college who ironically is Jewish.
Maybe
And
you should put that in context.
correct. The movie involves what is it? A rabbi and
A rabbi immigrant going out west from Poland, I believe, and
Exactly.
Harrison Ford is his cowboy buddy, more or less, and it's an odd one, but it's a lot of fun. Those two actors together, you have to see it. You have to see it to believe it, and they do very well.
Yeah, it's fun. It doesn't change your life. I saw it mostly, like I said, because my girlfriend asked, and I'm like, okay, yay comedies, I guess. No, that was a good movie. I remember enjoying that more than I thought I would by any stretch. You know, it's one of those funny experiments that you're like, okay.
Anyway, we've talked a lot about some of the films of his that we really enjoyed, and we definitely left quite a bit out because we'd be here for hours. But I'm kind of curious: were there any Harrison Ford movies that you don't like, that you completely detest? Beyond, I'm sure you own a coaster somewhere. Beyond that one.
This guy. Yeah, beyond that, I'm Mosquito Coast just rubbed me just outright 100% the wrong way. I suppose to be fair, I should give it a chance and try it again. I was not particularly fond of Sabrina, but here's going to be my controversial take. Well, I'll say this. I'm going to mention regarding Henry, not that it was a bad movie, but it was just wildly depressing. And if you want to put I'm pretty sure that the reason why Dr. Kevorkian could run a successful business is he would carry this DVD around and have people watch it. And when you're done, you'll just want to commit suicide anyway. So there's that.
It ends on a happy note, I guess. But as an adult, I understand how that film can really can rub you the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the idea of suddenly losing everything that you are, you've essentially died, and the character that he is for the rest of the film is not the same man he was.
Right.
That is a very, very depressing thought. Oh, by the way, this is a comedy show.
So, anyways, the controversial take here, Air Force One, completely overrated. Completely overrated. Okay, look, first of all, can we be honest? I liked that movie to start with. It was going in the right direction, and everything was going relatively well. Suddenly, the president, who's in his mid to late 50s, is a little too good at fist fighting. Okay, that's fine.
Well, he was a Vietnam vet. They threw that in there to explain it.
No, I understand that. I paused, but I still suspended belief. When he's friggin' windsurfing out the back of Air Force One, I'm out.
Yeah, that's where it kind of lost me. I think that film really peaked with "Get off my plane," and then the rest of it is. I mean, the plane crashing in the ocean was one of the worst special effects I've seen, but probably pretty good for the time. I don't even think it was really good for the time. I take it back. This came out after Jurassic Park.
Correct. Well, I'll say this: the "Get off my plane" is a classic line, and the one where he's like, "Who am I? I'm the president of the United States." That I'm with that.
Let's just be happy that that lost fourth Indiana Jones film didn't end with him yelling, "Get off my planet."
Get off my ship.
I would not have put it past them. For me, like, honestly, it's pretty much a lot of stuff that he did after 6 Days, 7 Nights, when it comes, such as Random Hearts, or Firewall, or Crossing Over, where those films. I mean, he's good in them, but he like I said earlier, he kind of falls into that kind of like the gruff personality type that he kept going on. Even in Ender's Game, he has that.
He's a military colonel. He's supposed to be gruff.
Yeah, right? And his name is one letter off of gruff. He plays a character named Graf, but nevertheless, coming, in a long string of those type of performances, it was kind of getting tired. I like the fact that I saw a little bit of life reinvigorated in him and his recent Han Solo portrayal, and even in the fourth Indiana Jones movie, which we make fun of all the time, he was fantastic. He was up for the game, as everybody else that kind of failed him. I'm looking forward.
Script that failed him. Let's put that squarely where it damn belongs, dude. People around him didn't fail him. I mean, look, the opening fight scene is still pretty awesome, where he's swinging, and he's trying to swing onto the truck and just smash. Damn, I thought that was closer. Pa, pa. That was delivered in a way that only Harrison Ford can do.
He does that well, but at the same time, if you watch, in the original movies, if that exact same thing happened, he would have sat back, he would have smiled at them, and then he would have punched them out. They wouldn't have sat back for like 10 seconds so he can finish his line like idiots.
Because he's old, dude. That's how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, but it relied too much on the one-liners, and they're trying to be Last Crusade, and I know it's not just the script. Yes, the script was bad, but I throw it in for the direction too. The rubber trees and the entire end, the last 30 minutes where he has nothing to do, and beside with caverns that are lit up like freaking what was that Nickelodeon show, Legends of the Hidden Temple? Because that looked more realistic than the entire ending sets of Crystal Skull. Let's just be honest.
So if you're Sean Connery talking about the Crystal Skull and in reference to the state of that franchise, what you would say is our situation is not improved.
Far from it. But despite all that, I think you know what? There is one film. There's one film we haven't quite talked about. Would you consider Blade Runner required viewing?
I don't know. Perhaps this is something we should explore.
To be continued. So yeah, this was a little bit of our ode to Harrison Ford. He's the actor I grew up with. He's the father I never had, and no. He never replied to my Father's Day cards. I don't know why.
He probably did, but he did it to himself, going, "This kid's creepy. What's going on here?"
Or even better, like one day he just opens up the mail. He opens up the Father's Day cards, like, "Damn, they really did take my son."
Wasn't that Mel Gibson? Now I'm confused.
What? What are you talking about?
Well, no, in Ransom, he's like, "Give me back my son."
Harrison Ford, watch his movies. And it really, I mean, the jokes really start with The Fugitive. But if you watch a lot of his movies, in Indiana Jones, where's my father? And then Cowboys and Aliens, they took my son.
Oh, okay. Well, look, I know you have a special attachment to Cowboys and Aliens because, it's the closest thing to porn for you, with James Bond and Indiana Jones in the same movie.
Correction. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is the closest to porn. Let me rephrase this. It's an okay movie. I don't think it was as bad as people say. I don't think it's good, but it's okay. I give it 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm. No bias whatsoever.
No, I completely unbiased. Other than the fact that Harrison Ford and Daniel Craig are fucking awesome together. But no, I'm not biased at all.
The situation is not improved.
That movie could have used this situation needs to be improved. So yes, tune in next couple of weeks and we'll be talking about Blade Runner. Is it required viewing? Kyle, anything else you want to add?
Look, Harrison Ford, good times all the way around. Hey, if there's another actor or actress perhaps that you want us to run down for an episode, throw it in the comments, folks. We're here for you by default.
And also let us know, what is your favorite Harrison Ford movie? Which one did you hate? I have a feeling I know which movies we'll be seeing down there. And
if you hate a Harrison Ford movie, are you then inclined, nay, forced to refer to it as a clear and present danger?
Well, that pretty much does it for this week's episode of Default Assault. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Default Hilarity, on Facebook, Hilarity by Default. And while you're at it, check out my website, hilaritybydefault.com, for weekly movie reviews and other fun stuff. Kyle, where can we find you?
Of course, I'm going to be on Twitter at the SOTG. And of course, I am on Facebook as a student of the game.
Remember, life is hilarious by default, and we'll see you next week.